500 of them and use those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another. Maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities. And another 720 days will go to community activities, like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
It's really cool.
Cool one. Okay. So that's kind of a fun one if you're teaching someone about time management. It can be inspirational. Long. Well, let's talk about chapter 2.
We're going to do those one-on-one.
Oh, no, Whitney's not here.
Oh, yeah, she's not. Says she's getting better.
Did she respond?
Yeah, she said she's better. All right, I got some questions. Some of these should be pretty fresh for some of you. What are the differences between high school and college?
What's the difference between high school and college?
Yeah. It's just, how is college different from high school? Let's throw some things out.
We just talked about time management.
Time management, okay. Yeah.
You actually have to study?
You have the workload.
Yeah.
You actually have to apply yourself and do the work.
Right.
Like high school, you can pretend to do the work in class classes.
Okay.
You're more in control of, I guess, the time you have in between classes. Like in high school, everything is blocked together. You go from one class to the next, to the next, to the next. And in college, you have to worry about, okay, I've got a class at 10, I've got like a 2-hour break or stuff like that. That's definitely something that's different.
Darren?
I think one of the things that throws people off quite often is in high school, generally speaking, you do most of your work by yourself. Whereas in college, it is much more, there are many more opportunities to do things in groups, and you're encouraged to do things in groups. And so it's a pretty big paradigm shift for a lot of people.
Yeah. What else, Kelsey? Kelsey, what's one thing that's different? Or something that you notice is different?
You have to balance the job and school.
Yep. Job and school. Anybody else? Mohammed? How's high school different than college? I don't know how it is there.
We have a big difference between college and school. It's also different from the United States. We have a long day from early morning until 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah. So you're required to be in the school for all those
And a
hours.
lot of subjects.
Yeah. Lots of different subjects. That was one definite thing. Lots of subjects that you had to take.
And that's the thing too, is in school, when you go to high school, public school, K through 12, you start at one time, you end at another. In college, you could potentially go and come back, or you have breaks in between, and so in high school it's a lot easier. You don't even have to be disciplined. You just
Right.
show up and you're there the whole day. But here you've actually got to go to class, and then you may only have class twice a week or 3 times a week. And that's becoming more and more common with A and B days, but still, those are some of the other things to get used to.
What other things?
There's definitely more pressure. Professors expect a lot more out of you, which is good. They expect you spend less time in class generally, but most of the time is like undirected study time, and you have to do what you can with it and try and maximize it. But people are juggling families, they're juggling jobs, it's good.
Yeah. They say statistically, is it every hour that you're in class you should spend 2 hours outside? Is that what it is?
2 to 3, depending on the number of credits the class is.
Okay. Any other things? I can think of a few more. Darren kind of touched on one.
Big shift between what you think is important and what is actually important.
Yep. Expound on that for me.
Friends, girlfriends, my social life was a lot more important, but now it's my family is extremely important. And what I do now is based on their well-being.
You're already married.
I was going to say, that could be different for different people too,
Yeah.
because there is that marriage aspect of the
Marital status.
non-traditional student.
I think another thing too is there's an expectation that as a college student you will engage in higher levels of thinking, more critical thinking, problem solving. Because I have found as a professor that one of the challenges that we often face is that students aren't used to thinking for themselves. They're not trained that way, and so it's a hard switch for many to have an opinion and to be able to back up that opinion and to be able to think critically and passionately about something, because their teachers didn't expect that of them by and large throughout their high school experience. Some did, but many didn't.
Another one that I see a lot is, questioning your ideas, your values, all those things, really trying to identify who you are as a person. That's something that a lot of people do in college. You don't have to do it in high school because you're still under your parents' roof. You have that path that's already drawn out for you, and you just follow it, and you get to college, and it's all open road. And you can go wherever you want.
Along that line, as well as you have to start cooking for yourself, you have to start taking care of yourself, you do have that, most of us have that paradigm shift because we're not at home anymore.
So, we've obviously established there's lots of differences. What can a mentor do? We're going to talk pretty much about what can we do to help that transition. So what can we do to help a student's transition from high school to college? Or what did a mentor do for you? Even?
When I think of a mentor, I'm not talking like a school mentor, I'm talking about one of my old roommates. He was a lot more experienced than I was, and I still look up to the guy, but anytime that I was trying to work on my problem on my own, he'd come over and he'd notice, first of all, that I was struggling with something, go over and just kind of give me a few pointers, and then kind of take a step back and observe and see how I was doing. And I love the guy. He's taught me a ton of different things to improve. And So my point is you have to care about the person, you have to notice that they're struggling, give them pointers, but let them do it themselves. You can help them out, but let them do it themselves, otherwise they won't grow.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, all right.
Anything else? Yeah.
I think a main purpose of a mentor is to help students realize that they aren't alone in anything, you know, like, a lot of college students do feel alone because they've had all these people around them their whole life, and now they have to care for themselves, pay for things and everything. I think just to be there for them and show them that, you know, like, hey, I went through this too, you know, like, I'm going through it right now, you know, because it helps a lot when you know that someone's been through or going through it, and that you're doing fine, and so, like, obviously, like, anyone can do it, you know.
Right. Any others? Anything else we can think that a mentor can do to help transition?
I think it was said earlier in class that we only know what we know, and so often a new student, because they don't know the questions to even ask in many ways, and so a lot of it's just anticipating what might a student need that they don't even know about. You know, what are the resources, what are the services that might benefit them? I think that's a huge one. That if we're really thinking about them, you know, oh, have you considered this? What are you going to do about this? Or what are some of your goals? Oh, have you thought about this? Because they probably have thought about something in general, but they don't know specifics and what specific, at least in the case of like UVU, what specific services are available here that could serve them.